Ready, and we're rolling.
Did you get that? We're rolling?
Yes, we're rolling.
rolling.
Nice.
Welcome, everybody. We finally made it. Thank you guys for everybody for coming.
All right.
Want to give a big thank you to everybody that's been following us online. We built a really nice social media presence before we launched, so I'm real happy about that. That was a big focus of mine. And big shout out to our sponsors, Choke Responsibly, right? The shirts.
Yeah.
Woo!
Look at that.
You can get our podcast t-shirts at chokeresponsibly.com. You can get 10% off with the code Dummies, POD1, so it's DUMMIES POD and the number 1. You always get free shipping in the U.S. Outside the U.S., you've got to pay. We also, last minute, just a couple of days ago, made a connection with Fight Back CBD. Very cool. This guy is from the Jiu Jitsu community, giving back to the Jiu Jitsu community. We'll go into a little bit more of that later. But if you want to place an order, you can use coupon code JJD to get 15% off, which he actually went from 10 to 15%, I think, as he got to know us. So very cool. So please go out, support our sponsors. I really, instead of going into a whole, like, this is how this was all created, I figured, we put out a bunch of posts and got a whole bunch of questions from people, that really just been following us online. I thought it was really cool. And instead of, giving everyone our history right up front, I think as we start answering questions, we can just, have a conversation about jiu-jitsu and answer these questions that people posed. All right,
Good.
sound good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody's good?
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Would you like to do the honors?
As person number 1,
Yeah.
we got a Paul Mills. Hey, Paul. Your question is, what is the best way to retain memory for a particular move?
Okay.
Oh,
Anyone want to take a shot at that?
do it 1,000 times and then do it again another 1,000 times.
I know one of the things that I used to do and used to drive my first coach nuts was I watched YouTube videos like they were going out of style. But what I wound up falling into was I would go find a YouTube video about the move that either I just did, couldn't get, was having a problem with, and then I'd watch that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. I approve.
You agree. So I would go watch a lot of videos. He didn't like it when I used to come back and be like, "Hey, coach, bring my iPad to the gym." Luckily, it was I was like one of his first students, so I would bring the iPad, and it was just me and him. So it was really cool. I was rolling with
But
my
did
black
that
belt.
work for you?
It did, because it let me. He would teach me the basics, and then he'd let me do bring some crazy move to the mat. But then again, I fell into this groove of finding videos that were really based on what we just did in class, or maybe something I was having a problem with.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, drilling 1,000 times, but sometimes you got to drill this too.
True.
Drill the brain a little bit.
You have to train your mind, especially when you can't go to the gym. That's something you said to me before. Like, if you can't go to the gym, try to learn jiu-jitsu just by watching videos, by talking about it. Just kind of train your mind into it.
Yeah. I think there's always a big joke of like, you're out, you're like, oh, I'm going do withdrawals because I'm hurt, I'm injured. I'm always watching something. I'm always trying to find something. I don't know about you guys. I know for me it's like.
Well, one thing that Mauricio said, which is really important, at least in my experience, is the whole idea of repetition. And obviously the physical part of the repetition it's tremendous, it's the most important part. But the mental part, as you said, is hugely important too. So when you're not training, when you're not on the mat, when you're driving, when you're walking around or whatnot, if you're thinking about that particular move, it's not necessarily how you're, picturing yourself like, kung fu mode type of, Star Wars type of thing, but more of picturing you literally doing every movement of that move from, the correct ankle position, how you're supposed to get the good grips, how you want to move your hips and your torso and your shoulders and whatnot, thinking about every one of those pieces and breaking them down.
Yeah.
And kind of going through that over and over again.
I'm smiling so big because have you ever been in the car actually doing that, and all of a sudden you find yourself like moving your head, and I gotta catch myself. I'm like, holy shit! I do that with like a little bit of like the boxing. If somebody hit me, all of a sudden my chin's at my chest, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, I'm driving. You know.
Do you ever wake up like that though?
I dream about
You
jujitsu.
wake up tense. You wake up and you're like, it's okay. This is not real.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's we'll take that into Paul, the same guy, Paul Mills. He submitted 2 questions on Facebook. He said, any suggestions on the mindset of an older player? That's good for the 3 of us. I'm a 47-year-old 4-stripe blue belt.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts? You want to take that one?
So
First of all, how old are you, Paul? I mean, Paul. Raul.
49,
49.
about to be 50
Woo.
soon. So
It's pretty much 50 already. So
yeah, this is pretty much
Just
it.
get used to it.
Um,
You know.
I think
Church it up.
especially when you're on the south side of the 40s and going on beyond, maybe even in the 40s, just the 40s in general. I think that when it comes to the physicality of jiu-jitsu, the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that it's so gently brutal, right? It teaches you about your body, but but at the same time, you have to be very cognizant and highly aware of your body, right? And know what your limits are and respect the limits on your body, because what you want is a longevity in jiu-jitsu, not just a 3 months of high level and then you're just like, I just can't do this anymore because my age is older. But I also think that it's important when you're older is not to just blame it on your age. If you're suffering from slow recovery, it could be your diet.
Yeah.
So, it definitely helps you to really, especially once you get older, not only look at and respect your limits and recognize them, but also realize and recognize how maybe you can improve your body so that you can increase those
So
limits.
when did you start? You're almost 50. When did you actually
So I
start?
started 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so from the time I started, it was all, I already was in that groove.
Okay.
And I recognized, even when I was at my peak, that I couldn't go every single day. It just, my recovery just wasn't there every single day. But I realized that I can go 4 times a week if I went every other day,
But
as
when,
opposed to 3 times back to back.
but when he was there, he was beating everybody up. I'm just saying, because I was right there training with him.
So just so everybody knows, Raul's been out in and out a little bit. You
Yeah.
know, but I don't know if you want to go into that at all. You
So
want to
no,
talk about it a
absolutely.
little
I mean, I had a surgery that definitely was related to the center of my body, and if anybody knows anything about jiu-jitsu just watching, it's a very core, intensive
Super.
martial art. And I was just so hungry to get back in. I didn't wait to fully heal. And so this is definitely a warning, not only to older people, but anybody. If you go through any kind of surgery, any kind of injury, respect the healing time of that injury so that you can maintain a long career in your jiu-jitsu time, as opposed to having to go hiatus. I train now very sporadically just so I can keep the moves in my head. I watch tons of videos on YouTube just so it's in the culture of my psyche. But because I didn't respect the healing time of that surgery, it absolutely impacted my ability to be consistent with my training,
You'd
which
probably
kills
be.
me.
I mean, again, since we're getting to know, the
Yeah.
listeners are going to get to know us this way. You're a white belt still.
Yeah.
But you'd probably be like guys that you started with at the same time. If it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
for your health issues, you'd be a multi-stripe
Yeah,
blue
I mean,
belt.
yeah. So I was 4 stripe
coming
peons ago.
Coming close
Yeah,
to purple at this
absolutely.
point. Right? I mean, on the road to purple.
Right, but because I didn't respect, that's what I did to myself. Although I'm still able to get into the motions of it and still roll on a limited level, my consistency is definitely.
So you chose a
impacted.
great gym to train in with like guys that are bigger than you, right?
Yeah, almost all of them are bigger
I don't
than
know
me,
if you
yeah.
know where he trains or if you've seen some of the pictures of the guy he trains with.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's the big guy in our gym.
Yeah, yeah.
He's bigger than Raul.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Tiny there.
Yeah, I'm not tiny, but I'm definitely not the big.
You're not the
Yeah.
biggest.
Yeah,
He's
not at
he's
all.
the Larry of his gym.
Yeah.
He's the Larry. He's
Oh,
like
that's-
stocky
yeah.
but small.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
no,
that's
absolutely.
scary. You know,
So
you
not
know-
visiting there.
I know, I'm going to be 46 in June, and I started right before my 41st birthday. I did, in the beginning, I trained 6 days a week. It was 2 hours a day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday was jiu-jitsu, 2 hours. Tuesday, Thursday was MMA. So we did stand-up, Muay Thai, and then, 1 hour of Muay Thai, and then we went into MMA and that meant we're doing takedowns and going into our jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Saturday was an open mat, and we had a really cool gym that we would go back and forth with. They would come to us, we would come to them. So at the time, my girlfriend hated jiu-jitsu. She hated me doing jiu-jitsu so long, so why so much? I fell in love with it. I ate it up.
Yeah.
But over time, I had to slow down.
Yeah.
The recovery time in the beginning, once a couple of years in, the recovery time, definitely I needed to put a day between. And that's what I do now. I try to do 3-4 days a week. At least Saturday and Sunday I'll do back to back. Otherwise, it's every other day. If I have to get a day in between.
Right.
Saturday and Sunday, I feel like I could do those. They're open mats. I have a little bit more control over what I'm going to do that day.
Right.
There aren't as many warm ups or drilling. We do drill, but not as much where I can not be as sore the next day. So I've definitely slowed it down. But everybody, you got to listen to your body, which was your mistake.
Yeah. So sorry, what were you gonna say?
Go ahead.
You're up there with us too. I
Right,
pointed
yeah,
at the other old guy.
I'm gonna.
Andres.
I'm going to be 18 in July. No, actually, sorry, 47. I'm going to be 47 in
nice.
July. Right. 18 emotionally, actually.
So why don't you introduce yourself as well? Name, rank, serial number.
My name is Andres Leon. I'm a black belt under Felipe Amarante and Sofia Amarante. I got my black belt about a year and a half ago,
cool.
December of 2016, I think it was. Just one of the most amazing moments in my life, really, knowing that,
Nice.
Receiving that and not expected, really, and I definitely respect my professors and respect that, but
And you've been with them. You went from white belt to black belt with them, right?
Yeah,
Which is awesome. Which is not typical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started my jiu-jitsu experience back in 1994 and 95. So
I
my
was just dropping out of college.
my roommate and I, we were, he was into martial arts and whatnot, and he knew some people who were promoters of the first Ultimate Fighting Championship. So
nice.
He knew the Gracies, he knew, the trainers for Ken Shamrock and all those people that were back then. And so he started learning jiu-jitsu, and we were kind of just practicing at our apartment, and going, just drilling and doing things like that. And I did high school wrestling rather. So I was able to control them very easily with wrestling. But once you learn the basics of moving your hips and everything like that with jiu-jitsu, wrestling kind of becomes a less powerful tool. But anyway, so that was back then. Then I quit for a long time, and then I moved here to South Florida. I met Felipe and Sofia and started back up in 2007 or so. And I've been with them ever since.
Very cool. Very
Nice.
I think I was the first one to roll with him as a black belt when you got your belt.
I believe so, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Very cool.
There you go.
And you're up there. How old are you? I'm not going to ask you your age, Janet. I know better.
Yeah,
But
that's
you can
gonna
chime in whenever you want. I
That
know
would-
you're not
that
as
would
old
be
as the rest of us.
inappropriate. I turned 40 last September.
Oh, so
Wow.
hey.
I know. I feel so young.
I see the
you know,
grace here.
I feel so young being with you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
But I'm sorry. But
Okay,
I mean,
the youngster of the group.
youngster. I've been training for 2.5 years now. I started pretty much when he started. I think I started like a couple months before you.
Yeah.
And I believe the biggest difference between like the younger trainers and the younger people training and us is the recovery time. Because some of the young kids, they can train every day, 5-6 times a week, and some of them even go twice a week.
And your son trains,
Yes,
as well.
yes.
How old is he?
He's 13.
13,
He's
and he trains, at least 4 or 5 days?
He does 4 days every week.
Okay.
He does 4 days every week. There's 3 gi classes and 1 no gi class. And this is the cool thing about it, like we pretty much just started training together, and we created such a bond because of the sport.
Yeah.
Like I don't see myself not doing that. And especially with him. I even asked him the other day. His name is Gabriel. I was like, Gabriel, have you seen yourself like not doing jiu-jitsu? And he's like, no. So
Yeah.
he's we kind of want to get our black belts together.
that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I hope I can get that happen. Because he's gonna be I believe if he keeps training, you know, maybe when he's 19, 20, you know, he's gonna get his black
One
belt.
of
So
one of the moms posted. What did she posted a conversation she had with her son, and it was something along the lines of he sat back and didn't engage with another child, and basically the conversation was because I would put him to sleep.
Oh, about being aggressive.
Yeah, about being aggressive. He
That
was
kid
just
is
like,
an aggressive fighter. Why are you not aggressive? He says, I don't need to be.
Because I'll put him to sleep, and it was like the punchline to it was essentially like I'll put him to sleep,
Yeah.
and I was like that confidence, but he just I don't have to.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about jiu-jitsu.
and you find
obviously.
out about the people that know how to fight that are the ones that are not fighting.
Yeah.
Like they usually the people that have like the less confidence, the ones that don't train. Those are the ones that go out on the street and pick up fights with a stranger.
Right.
So again, I don't think you gave your name, rank, and serial number.
Mauricio,
Yeah. Belt?
blue belt, 2
Under?
stripes under Felipe Amarante and Sofia Amarante.
I know that.
You-
Good people.
Good people.
Good
great
people. Good people.
Let me just say something as far as the mindset of an older person. Even though Gabriel's only 13, and you're saying he trains 4 times a week, I think that is still as important as 47 like Paul is. I think that you need to, like you said, respect yourself. Even at 13, you have that energy. You can bounce back from your injury so much more, better, faster. But as you get older, you feel as a kid you're changing in your body as well. As you're getting older, you know your limitations. I think you, again, respect yourself. Take the rest that you need, because like Paul is 4 stripes. I'm sure he wants to get to his black belt as well.
Yeah.
And it's not how many times you're training every day and you're drilling every day. It's longevity for the
Yes.
sport.
Yeah.
Right.
So take care of yourself so that you
Right.
can continue for the
Yeah.
next 10 years or
And yeah,
Longer.
and beyond.
Get yourself a massage gun, everybody.
Yeah.
we'll do a little product
Yeah.
testing on this
I
in
want,
one of the
I want
next
to know
episodes.
more about that. I think one
Nice.
one important factor to talk about that is the idea that it's what everyone has different goals. Everyone has different
I agree.
ways or different things that they see themselves in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years,
Well,
or
even
whatever.
are you doing this as a hobby or are you a competitor?
Right,
Right.
exactly.
But
Depending
at
how
the end
you
of the
train.
day, it has to be a lifestyle. It's something you're gonna be doing forever, and it's gonna keep you healthy. It's gonna
Yeah.
keep you younger, longer. You know, and I believe like this is not. It's not like when you go to the school for like 3 or 4 years and you graduate and I'm done. Like jiu-jitsu, we never stop doing jiu-jitsu. You know,
Right.
and there's a saying they say when you get your black belt, that's when you really start doing jiu-jitsu. That's
Yeah.
when you start in your journey doing jiu-jitsu. So.
So we're going to actually come back into that because there's a whole bunch of questions about kind of belt and rank and how you can
I was going to just say one more thing about the retaining the memory, the first question that
Yeah.
Paul had. Me, if it's a move that I think I could really use that one, even though you put that in your repertoire of moves, sometimes you forget about it because you've learned something else.
Yeah.
I find for myself if I write it down. I have my own little jiu-jitsu journal, and if it's a good move, I think I gotta put that one in my back pocket. I will take notes. Hey, my right hand was here, my left hand was here, I placed my hips here, my feet were there, and just walk through in my own language that when I read it,
You'll understand.
I understand
Yeah,
it.
keeps that in the
Yeah.
safe.
If you
not
read
right.
it,
Yeah.
you might go,
Mhm.
what the
She
hell?
has,
But it
Yeah.
works for me.
I bet she has
so-
that book from Jason.
No, yes.
Yeah.
He's got his own journals. Like, stay away from her.
Yeah.
When she does it, stay away from
When
it.
So-
she says whatever, that does not mean
This next
whatever.
question, actually, why don't you read this next question because it actually kind of goes into the subject, about a move that this guy's having, that
So-
Justin's having a problem with.
Justin says, I'm having issues with triangle submissions.
Hmm.
My legs are big from doing squats. Makes it hard to close the hold.
That's Justin Dodd. He sent us that question on Facebook.
Mhm.
Big
Can I-
guy, that's a big guy
yeah,
question.
that's a
And I
definitely-
know my answer, but go ahead.
No, definitely, and it really even almost ties back to what Paul was asking earlier, right? There's just, and we were talking. I was talking in general with some people about it, and there's a reality, right? There's probably 7,000 times 10 moves in jiu-jitsu, and it's growing every day because people are leaving, jiu-jitsu better than when they found it. So the reality is you're only going to use a certain amount, right? Based on your body type, based on your physicality, based on your aggression level or lack of aggression, or just the way you think as a fighter. let's say, for example, the triangle. There's definitely moves that you can use against certain kind of fighters. And when I say certain kind of fighters, I just mean body type. How I roll with someone who's much smaller than me is a completely different role for me than someone who's my size. Completely different role for me than someone who's even bigger than me. So maybe the triangle doesn't work with a much bigger guy because I'm just my fighting style. I'm trying to fend off the extra energy, the extra mass. If I'm fighting with someone much smaller than me, I'm using different things that I have to take into account that I have so much mass that I don't want to do certain things with too much speed because I may end up hurting just on a physical level. But maybe the triangle does work with someone who's more my size.
Right.
And then with that person, that body type, that's where I start to practice that triangle. You go to class every day and your only goal is to try to execute that triangle till it becomes muscle memory.
Yeah.
Anybody have I know what I want to say about that.
Go ahead.
So when I first started jiu-jitsu, my coach, I won't say his name, so he'll hate me for giving out his weight. He was definitely probably over 265 and shorter than me. I'm about 5'11". We had a 400-pound training. I had a 400-pound training partner, and we always had to help him figure out the move, how it would work for his body type. Specifically when it comes to triangles, though, it's the angle, right? If you're putting a triangle on in front of somebody, if you put that foot on their hip, that outside foot on their hip or on the ground, and you get that angle, and you turn, to the side, do you notice, Philippe, how he does his triangles?
Yeah.
He's never in front of you. He's on the side. That angle of the leg over the head,
Right.
and then you lock it.
Chopping
You don't need. It doesn't. The body type winds up not mattering.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big the guy's neck is or how big your leg is. And for Justin, I'm sure that if he just changed his angle, so if you're at 12 o'clock and I'm at 6,
Right.
if I move to about 4, it's a whole different move.
Right.
And you can actually, even with bigger legs, you can actually, do that move.
100%.
Yeah.
And to build on that, the body type does matter though, because there are some body types where you don't have to do the angle, and there's just some body types where you will have to do the angle, and that's
longer
identifying body
legs,
types.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Position before submission.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone needs
So,
to-
so following with that, I think one important aspect is that when you're learning a specific move, and every gym is different, every professor will help you try to achieve that in different ways. But one thing that you can do to help yourself also is to take the time that you have, maybe a few minutes after practice is over, after you've done rolling, to go with someone you trust, another partner of yours or whatever, and just say, hey, do you have a few minutes? Let me work on a specific move. And maybe it was something that was practiced, in that class, but if it's the triangle that you're looking for, then you just basically drill with that person
And talk
and
it
you
out.
and you talk it out. Exactly. You say, I'm trying to move my hip this way. What do you think? What do you feel? And stuff like that. And your partner will tell you, yeah, no, I'm not feeling it here, or you got to put more pressure on this spot, or you got to really escape your hips more, or whatever. Talking with someone and walking it step by step, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if you do it 2 or 3 times with another person, can really give you an edge on how you personally need to move your body. And so, body types, believe me, I'm a short guy, I'm 5'6", my legs are relatively thick but short. So triangles have never been my strength, but usually they get better when I do that. When I say to someone who's even bigger than me or taller or whatever, and say, let me work on the triangle for a few minutes. Let me relearn or reaccommodate my mind to think how I need to move my hips, to make sure I chop it down, to lock it, to bring the head down, do all those things. If you work and kind of walk your mind through it with someone willingly and is giving you the pressure to make sure that you're doing it right, but not just like a dummy,
Right there.
exactly.
Yeah.
You can definitely get something out of that, and if you can do that every once in a while with different moves, you'll definitely feel.
I like what
different
you said there about it, and I was reading an article about this yesterday, which was talking about people who actually train and how much it benefits them as much, making them go through. You're doing a lot of training again right now. I've been seeing you with the kids when I show up. You're at the kids' class. How much does that help your game? Like walking people through it and seeing it and going, oh well, I do that. Or I do that wrong. oh, I'm supposed to put my foot there. I don't do that. You know.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you? Do you find yourself looking at it, going, saying those things?
Yeah, I've just started working there
Okay.
as far as helping out in the kids' class.
Well, why don't we have you introduce yourself?
My name is Janet. I am a blue belt, a 4th degree blue belt. And I as well train with Felipe and Sofia Almirante. I would say that by helping out in the classes and watching the kids and watching them move and trying to teach them helps me to teach as well. And like you said, there are some moves that maybe I thought that they went this way and instead they're going this way. And then once I figured out, it's just this light bulb. Oh my God, doesn't that make sense? Of course it makes sense because that's the way it was intended. But yeah, it's.
I train. I definitely loved training. In my first school, I definitely helped out with the kids class. I'll introduce myself too. Keep on forgetting. My name is Milton Campus. I train with Felipe and Sophia as well at Fight Sports in Coral Springs, Florida. I am a purple belt with 1 stripe. I've been training. July will be 5 years. So don't feel like a veteran just yet. That's why the dummies. I feel like I'm, that's part of the naming of the show. I feel like I'm always learning something. If I miss a week, I kind of feel like I've forgotten everything, right? Till you get back out there and you're like, oh, wow, I do really, wait a minute, I really do remember this stuff. Look at me, So I loved training the kids. I feel like I actually, when I think back, sometimes I almost feel like I was better then than I am now sometimes with my basics, triangles and sweeps. Because that's all, we worked on it. We really, beat that into their head so much that,
that neon chest is deadly too.
What's that?
That neon chest.
Neon
is
chest.
Deadly too.
Yes, Mauricio loves my neon chest. So we had another question that kind of is talking about this as well. It's funny how some of these conversations have led into the next question. We have Nick Gaudet from Facebook. He said, as a white belt, is there a benefit to rolling with blue and purple belts and just trying to stay alive? The fact that he even thinks that that's what he's supposed to be doing, that there's a problem there, I think. Or is it more beneficial to work with someone closer to my skill level and maybe use more offensive techniques? Anybody want to take that one?
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
So I think there's an advantage on both. I think it's very important to I read an article somewhere where it endorsed black belts rolling with advanced blue belts because the blue belt provided enough resistance, but it gave the black belt
because the blue belt knows how to take a beating.
So I think there's an advantage to rolling with someone that you can kind of dominate because it makes you crisper in your offense.
Okay.
But I think when you're starting out, especially as a white belt, and you're rolling against blue belts and purple belts, just feeling how they're setting up their knee on belly, their rear choke, their triangles, just feeling that against you, knowing how that's getting set up really helps us set up your defense later on. And it really builds your game. And I've always said you learn more failing in jiu-jitsu than actually,
Okay.
So absolutely, I endorse someone kicking your butt on that mat because that's where you're really learning.
So this is where I have a little bit of a problem with it, and maybe again, this is part of the premise of this show was going to be that we wanted to tell the newbies, we want to answer these questions for white and blue and give them our advice. Sometimes they're not able to ask their black belt or their coach, or they feel embarrassed or they don't want to. I take it upon myself when there's a new person that comes into our school to fight sports and they don't know what they're doing, or I see that they've been there for a couple of days and not by the fault of coaches by any means. It's you get thrown into a class, you work on some of your basics, but when I won't just roll with them. I'll ask them, especially if I know that they've just started, how many times have you been to class? How many times have you rolled? And okay, show me your guard, show me how to break the guard, and show me your side control. And I won't roll with them. I will instruct them in those 5-6 minute rolls.
Yes.
Right?
I can vouch for that.
I've definitely I feel like, because I was never in that place. Again, I trained with a black belt and then a 400-pound guy, and I didn't know nobody taught me that etiquette.
Right.
So I definitely take it upon myself when it's somebody like that. I let them know that it's okay to ask me questions and to let's start here.
Right.
Now, when it's somebody like like a Larry, he's always been aggressive, and he just jumped right in with both feet. And you know, every once in a while I'll tell him, hey, you should have done this or do this, but we roll. I've been rolling with him hard since I was a blue belt, and he was just starting as a white belt. But you know, for Nick, there's a benefit to rolling with blue belts and purple belts, but you should feel comfortable in asking those same guys, hey, listen, can we start here? You know, hey, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy. Can I start on your back because I'm always having a problem, you know, or can I start in your guard, or can you start in my guard? You know, you should feel comfortable. I think sometimes we get a little competitive in the gym, a lot competitive, right? And we're, you know, there are some guys keeping track of who they're check marking people off.
Try to learn instead of just try to. You want to try to beat someone up that is more advanced than you. Just try to learn. You know, as much as you can, as much as you can absorb. Like,
but he should feel comfortable to ask a higher belt to help him to get a little bit better. He shouldn't just think that he's being thrown to the wolves and that his job is to get beat up and submitted.
Right.
It's okay for him to ask, and those are the times in those roles. You know, if you've got somebody that's closer in rank, that's okay. Go hard.
Now,
but if it's somebody that you feel like you can learn from, ask them a question. Ask them about their favorite move. Ask them to show you a sweep.
Now, the problem sometimes is that we are very fortunate, and I feel that from personal experience. We are very fortunate that we are in an environment, our gym, the gym where we work out and we, you know, most of us are working out at, that it's a very relaxed gym in the sense. We have a sense of tradition and we have certain elements that we follow to make sure that we have a sense of respect and admiration for everyone in the class. But there are other gyms where that tradition is much more strict. So, for example, I've been in places where a lower belt is not allowed to ask a higher belt to fight. So when you're done with class, it's a no-no to, if you're a white belt, it's a no-no to ask a blue belt or a purple belt or God forsake a black belt for that. You know, so the people who are asking questions need to understand the kind of gym where they're at to make sure that that they follow the culture that they want. But above all that, they have to be comfortable where they're working. So if they're not getting what they want from the gym, you know, above all, you know, let's take away the whole idea of jiu-jitsu and martial arts, you know, culture and everything. You're there to better yourself as a person, as an athlete, physically, emotionally. So you want to be in a place that encourages that. So if you're in a place where asking questions is a no-no, or where you're forced to sort of be in one thing and only work with certain people, and you're not happy with that, then maybe that's not the place for you.
I wouldn't
Exactly.
Good
So
point.
you want to make sure that you understand what gym you're in and that you're comfortable there. And yes, asking questions and you know, saying goes, there's no such thing as a dumb question. It's completely true. You need to make sure that you're comfortable and happy with it.
And as you rise in rank, you should remember those problems that you went through.
Exactly.
And again, it's why I offer myself up a lot. I would, you know, hey, you want to work on something? Or do you want to roll? If it's a lower belt, especially if there's a lot of distance between when they started and when I started, or just in belt rank, I'll usually ask. I just think that they have a better time. You know, ultimately, you know, I'm not a gym owner, but ultimately I do understand that it's also a business. And if I'm beating up on him and he doesn't show up next week, which has happened, and I probably am responsible for a couple of guys maybe going, maybe this isn't the place for me, and learning that. But again, as far as culture, sometimes those things aren't always taught to you. But I kind of learned, that guy's, you know, there's value in the brotherhood, and there's value in him being a member of the gym. You know, the whole, you know, white belts are fish, not food. Right.
Yeah.
You know, is that how that saying goes? Right. So you know, you want to be careful, and as a higher rank, you want to make sure that you remember how you felt, and you know, again, teach past it.
You're a representative. You know, by extension, you're a representative of your professor and your gym. So you want to make sure that you extend that level of courtesy and camaraderie to everyone who comes into the gym, no matter what.
And I'd like to just remind everybody that blue belts are just glorified white belts. Just gonna throw that out there. So as far as, you know, out there training with the blue belts, calm down,
I'll
because
tell you
we
this,
just have
and-
more of an idea, but I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on
Yeah.
half the
I'll
time.
tell you this, and maybe some people will disagree with me, maybe won't, but a black belt is a white belt who never gave up. That's
Yes.
basically what it is.
Amen.
Okay, so the whole idea that you're a much higher belt, so therefore I shouldn't be asking you questions. I mean, again, look at your culture, look at where you are. If that's where you're comfortable, fine. But in our culture, the way where I'm at, I should feel comfortable asking questions to anybody.
I agree.
If Hideo Gracie came right through the door, I should
That'd
be
be
so
a miracle.
lucky. I should be so lucky to be able to say, Professor Gracie, I would love to ask you a question. Would you mind showing me this? And obviously that would be like a dream come true. But
In Portuguese
whole-
or English?
I'll have Mauricio here to help me.
I have my
translate.
translator here.
Yes. I would basically just roll to my side and just say, just to explain.
So
That would be fun.
let's go back into that question a little bit. So I mean, when Nick is asking, now that we kind of gave our feelings about that, as a white belt, is there a benefit to rolling with purple belts, blue and purple belts?
Yes.
Of course.
Absolutely.
But you
Pushes
shouldn't feel
yourself.
like you should just be trying to stay alive. Make sure you're asking questions and asking for help.
Yes.
And you'll find, when you start a roll and you say, hey, do you mind if we work on something? You're going to be shocked that most of the time they're going to say, yeah. Like, we love to, I think everyone here, loves to teach and talk about jiu-jitsu as part of why we're here. So when somebody's engaging with me, even right before a roll, I will absolutely offer up some,
Yeah.
my help.
I think it's
Yeah.
important on both ends as well. You roll with people that are your own belt, your own skill,
For sure.
so that not that you're comparing, but you can kind of get a feel as to, am I learning? Am I
Right.
falling behind? Am I in my plateau or in a lull? I think also, though, rolling with a higher belt, even if you feel like you're being demolished, you're still learning.
Well, that's the 2nd
You're-
part of the question.
You're
so that's
pushing
perfect.
yourself, and
Yeah.
if you don't push yourself with that higher belt, then just stay with the white belt. Then
You know,
don't challenge
I
yourself.
find out
Right.
from personal experience, like when I'm rolling with people that are much higher rank, and sometimes and they go like maybe aggressive, and if you ask them questions, you'll be like, oh man, this is so cool what you just did right now. Can you?
What was that?
Yeah, and they'll be like, they completely change the mindset and they automatically go in teaching mode, and
Yeah.
then it's all profit.
Is that how you
you're
get
gonna,
me, huh?
You're gonna learn. That's all
what you
profit.
got your secret now.
You know what I mean? So it's so true. Like asking questions, like let them know, like I do appreciate your knowledge. Can you please share with me? I think that's what.
Our good friend Junior, who was supposed to be here as well, he always says, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go home and I see him post, and all you see is, tonight I was the nail.
Right.
So I mean, I think there's a huge benefit to that as well.
Yeah.
It's humbling. I
Right.
mean, I think we've all gone home, days where we've gone in the gym and done really well, and there's some days when we go home and go, I just got dominated by somebody, and I feel like I know nothing. Again, that I'm a dummy.
Yeah.
So those are good feelings to have. You should be having. If you're not having those feelings, you're in the wrong gym.
Yeah.
If you're the best, what do they say? Like, if you're the best guy in the gym, you're in the wrong gym. If you're
Right.
the smartest guy in the room, you're in
Yeah.
the wrong room. So as far as the
I
second
need
part
to
of this
go.
commercial, I think that the second part of his question is there's benefits to both sides. But even same thing with your black belt. Roll with your black belt, roll with your higher belts, but don't be scared to ask some questions. And I know, again, even with Felipe, obviously he's our coach, but he loves to get those questions and then to
Yeah.
really show you how to do something,
Yeah.
and help you perfect it. I mean, that's his job, so he gets to do it really, and
Yeah.
I think he does a great job at it too. So.
And if I could say, there's different levels of getting demolished, right? Because I can think of right now when I started with Felipe and Sophia, there was 4 clear examples of getting demolished. I was getting demolished by all 4 guys, but I'll say Milton was the principal demolisher,
Culprits.
right? But what I loved about rolling with Milton, it was as much as he was dominating me a couple of times with that baseball choke did hurt a little, but as much as he
Thank you,
never
you too.
hurt me, he never hurt me. He was always willing to listen and stop and do whatever. So it was an instructive demolish. And then there was these 2 blue belts who I would roll with, and they've since moved away from the area, but they would demolish me in a different way. It was like physical pain. They would roll with me like we were in a tournament going for the gold, right? And it was just a different thing. And then
Please tell me their names after that.
I will. And then I would roll with someone else who's since moved to another part of the country, and he would demolish me. I felt not one bit of pain, but it felt like vines around me. I could do nothing. He neutralized me on every move, and he was so gentle on every move and still was dominating me. So all I say is embrace the different levels of the chaos of how you're being dominated, because that's how it is in real life. And at the end of the day, as recreation or tournament, at the end of the day, we're learning how to defend our life maybe one day.
Yeah.
So, and you know, that guy out there or that young lady out there who's trying to kill you doesn't really care about your feelings or if they're going too rough. So
Very cool.
Good point.
And again, it's funny. This is not planned, but I think you might be talking about Steven.
Yeah.
And he submitted a question, and that's the next question here. So coincidentally, we have a very
Hi, Steven.
So I don't even know how to say his last name. Steven Della Vedova. Della Vedova. He'll hate me for not getting that right. He submitted a question on Facebook. I know, he moved for a job.
Yes.
He had just had his son. Well, maybe his son was maybe about a year going on.
Right,
A year and a half, 2 years. So he moved away. So his question was, it's funny because he's always saying that he's not like that big on Facebook and the internet. So he says, I have a good question. I hope this is the right place for it. I'm not good at the internet. Okay? All right. What should you do when you can't afford training during hard times, but jiu-jitsu is basically what gets you through the hard times?
That's great.
Oh, geez,
You-
yeah.
Anybody been there?
So I've been there, and I'm going to tell you a blessing that I have people who are very close to me that are also into jiu-jitsu, and I'm able to train with them privately. But
Yeah.
that I have heard from other people in the community who don't have friends outside of class, and they do get stuck when they get into a point where they can't attend class on a regular, and that's it. They have no one to go to. So that is a great question.
Yeah. I think to a certain extent, the jiu-jitsu community, is that's one of the things that I love the most about that is that it's a very close-knit environment, and people in very, very few situations I've seen people not be able to participate in that community, even if it's for economical or whatever reasons. And what's happened in the past with me is that if in situations where I've been out of luck, either not able to maintain my economical status or whatever, I've basically gone to the gyms, and I've said to the instructors, whether I know them or not, I say, look, I'd love to join the gym or continue with the gym, but at this point in time, I'm not able to afford the X amount that you charge. Would you mind, or would you be willing to allow me to continue working here, maybe only once or twice a week for a reduced rate? And you'd be surprised. The worst thing that can happen is they'll say no.
Mm-hmm.
That's the absolute worst that can
I've been
happen.
standing there, and I could say I've been in 2 gyms where I've started and now at Fight Sports. I've been in the room when both of my coaches have said that to people. Like, just come on in, just come in.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little expensive, I can't afford it. Or a kid, or even a mom with a kid. Oh, I don't know if we'll be able to do this. They take the free week, and I've been in the room when they've just said, just come on in, don't even worry about it. Especially, listen, again, you've been with Felipe when they opened the new school in Coral Springs. Again, it's about getting people in and teaching and the community and listen, it is ultimately a business for them, right? They
have
love
to pay
it.
the bills, yeah.
They don't look at it maybe as much of as a job as a lot of other people that don't have a gym, but I've been there when they just come on and don't even worry about it. Just listen. Adult class Monday night 7:30.
Yeah.
So my first gym too as well. He was building, so he had a whole box of old gis, and he'd be like, "Don't worry about it. Just come in." It's about building the business. But if he had 100 people in a gym that fit 50, he still would have invited that person in.
Yeah.
That's just the way he was. So don't be scared to ask.
Yeah.
Now on the other side, you can find some videos online. Train by yourself. You could do like in solo drills.
Mhm.
I know one of the best channels that I found was a guy, Jason Scully. I've probably told
Mhm.
the lower belts most of the time.
A
I've probably
billion
told
times.
everybody the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I know coaches don't love for you to watch YouTube, but these are go to Jason Scully videos. Look up Jason Scully BJJ on YouTube. He has incredible videos. Videos that show you how to train by yourself. He does something like his own. He'll show himself training, but for jiu-jitsu specific videos, solo drills, things to keep yourself in shape, that are all like things that you're going to wind up doing on the mat.
Yeah.
I love his like 50 what was it, like 50 kimuras or 50 side control, this and that, different moves that he condenses into really short videos, and I found that those helped me. Again, when I wasn't able to train, or maybe I was hurt, I'd still be watching videos, and I would love those because I didn't want to learn all 50 moves, but I would watch and see, oh wow, I'm always in that position. That's what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's something like that would work for me. But that's just one example of something that I would do. But solo drills online, just BJJ or Jiu Jitsu solo drills. There's a million videos that you could be doing, stuff on your own, at least to keep yourself in shape.
What about if you find somebody at your gym that you could take aside and say, hey, I'm on hard times right now, I can't come to the gym. Is there any way that maybe you and I can meet elsewhere and just do some drills together? Worst case scenario, get your wife's back, and if she can get out of it, then game's over.
I think that you're right. I think any student that would go to an instructor or say, I can't pay this month.
It sounds like you've done that before.
Yeah.
You move the furniture.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go on the carpet.
You make sure you have a mat on the side.
Let me show
Exactly.
you this move I just learned.
Do you mind talking about that a little bit? Because you and your husband both train, and your daughter did train. Was your chicken or the egg? Was your daughter the first, or
she was the chicken on that one. She had trained for about a year. She was on the honor roll, and she had gotten a little coupon at the school, and we're like, well, let's try this popsicle stand, see what it's all about. Loved it. Loved Felipe, loved Sophia. As soon as we walked in, my daughter at the time, I think she was 11, and she was like, I kind of like her. She really liked Sophia because they're about the same height, same size, pretty tiny. She trained for about a year before she, knew everything as a teenager. Right. And then about the time that she was quitting is when I started, and then I trained for about a year before Jason started. So it's different training with him. It's cool because he pushes me. I don't know how he feels as far as, like, oh, at least my wife can somewhat defend herself of something, or, I don't know how he feels on that end.
We'll get him one day, don't worry, we'll get him in here.
Okay. But it's really funny as far as training with your spouse like that, is that, say, any of you guys were to get me in a certain position where maybe it like, that hurt my shoulder, that hurt, whatever. Oh, that's fine. Just keep going. With him, it's like, how dare you hurt me?
When you guys were all in together?
Off of me. Why would you do that? I was like, it's such a personal hurt.
We know who's doing the dishes that night, right?
Like, get off me, I'm done. Tap, jerk. No,
Wow.
and it's so funny though, because I've heard other couples say the same thing.
Really?
They don't. It's not that they don't want to train with them. It's just such a different kind.
Different thing,
Yeah, because you just take such offense that you would hurt me like that. Why would you do that? Because that's your protector.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't expect your spouse to hurt you, and it's
Right.
not like he does it
So
on purpose.
how long have you guys been training now? Or how long have you been training now?
Lordy, I believe I've been training for 4 years.
Okay.
So Jason's been training for 3 years. Mm-hmm.
And it's probably also because you guys, there's so much time you guys spend together that doing the training is, it's kind of like just.
You can try to kill each other, and it's okay.
It's just too much of you. Just get off me or whatever.
No, it's okay.
No.
No. And like I said, sometimes I really enjoy rolling with him. Other times it's too much because, I mean, rolling with any guy, sometimes you just have to. You guys like manhandle. You're like, yeah, I know.
Who?
I know.
Me? Not me.
Yeah.
Yes.
She
Sometimes.
shows she's so full of it because she will put you on such.
Wow.
I'm just saying because I've been.
Janet just got called out.
I've been
Wait,
choked
tell
by
me
this
more.
woman here so many times, that I can even remember.
Don't act like you don't like it though.
Whoa.
Keep sticking your neck out there.
It's all, it's so appetizing. It's like,
Her bow and arrow is solid. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that.
Nice, nice.
It's
I
just-
always feel bad rolling with the smaller ladies because the size.
Yeah.
So I usually only wait till I'm invited to roll, unless there's like on open mats. It's when it's a smaller crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'll ask, but I always feel so bad because I'm like,
Yeah.
I
when you
have
hear
no-
Yeah.
there's always a point where Janet will go, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I'm so heavy.
she knows exactly when to
She
say
knows.
it, too.
She
She's
like,
oh, I need to skip. Oh, okay, God.
Yeah.
I know.
Stop giving her
All the
up.
secrets.
I'll
Yeah,
get
I know the
you
secrets.
poke you in the eye.
How are we
Hey.
on time,
I
guys?
almost broke my finger, friend.
55. Okay, cool.
I have to say, I don't mind rolling with somebody your size, a
Mhm.
little bit larger than myself. I wonder though, is that fair for your training?
Yeah, because then I'll make sure that I'm working on.
Do you feel like you have?
I'm
you-
always my
you
mind
use-
is always working on something in the background.
And do you feel like you have to use? You don't need to use as much strength as me, therefore you can work on your technique. Kind of like our friend back there that was talking about the white belts versus the blue and purple. Okay, well if you're so much, not I want to say better, but then work on your technique instead of your strength because that's not what it's
So
really supposed
remember,
to be about.
Yeah.
not everybody was here for when we did the rehearsal. The three of us were here. You remember when we said when somebody does a male or female, right? When somebody we roll over on them or we sweep them, and you hear the
Mhm.
and like I know that I'm not putting on my weight, or if I'm in side control and I'm up on both of my knees so that I'm not that heavy because I
Right.
know I'm just going to be too heavy for this person.
Right.
And when I hear them do that, I'm like, if they only knew that this isn't all my weight.
Right,
And that's
right.
not being braggadocious. Like
No.
I could be doing so much more damage.
Yeah.
It's that no, I'm that much more heavy.
Yeah.
I'm up at 225.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
Does that
That's-
depend on if that was the first roll of the day or is that number 6? If that's the first roll, calm down. If that's number 6 and they're making that noise, maybe they've had some other.
I mean, listen. I've learned over the years. If I'm rolling with somebody that's newer, I'm letting them attack anyway, so I'm going to let them get on top. But there are definitely, and we all know, and there are lower belts who attack. They're just,
Yeah.
and there's times that I'm like, okay, I don't want to be on the bottom of this, spazzy attack sometimes. So then I do attack, and I am on top of them, and I'm going to make them work. You've got to, I want to say beat it out of them, but they have to learn that they can't be aggressive all of the time.
Yeah.
So I'll calm them down, get a nice side control, and then make them work out of it, and maybe even tell okay, listen, shrimp, get your leg in,
Right.
And
regain the guard.
And it's really cool that you say that in the sense that when you're rolling with different people, obviously everyone has a different attitude and a different drive and different techniques and whatever. And the beauty of that is that you have to, you are used to sort of knowing what are your good moves and what works for you and what usually doesn't work for you and whatever. When you're rolling with different people, you have to adapt those techniques that you own to the person that you're rolling with.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm rolling with Mauricio, then I know I have to do certain things. I have to move in a certain way. When I'm rolling with Milton, it's a completely different game. Okay.
I was gonna say I don't think we've ever flowed.
No.
together.
And and the whole thing, like we're gonna do 50%.
Yeah.
50%.
I think we have an unspoken rule. We know
Yeah.
when we look at each other, we're like,
50%.
yeah, sure. Everyone else,
A gentleman's agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
50%.
we know we're going.
Yeah.
We know we've never
You
gone.
had
that.
one to Steve too.
I don't think we've ever gone 50%.
I mean, 50% in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the
remember
clap,
that.
and that's about it.
Yeah.
But you learn to negotiate what your moves will be with each person. So when you are dealing with a spastic white belt who's third or fourth week in, then you're going to behave in a much different way than dealing with a purple belt or brown belt or whatever.
Yeah.
So you are going to be working your strengths according to who you are attacking or who's attacking you. So it's always a game, regardless of who you're rolling with. The idea is that you are working for yourself. It's a game about how you are progressing.
Yeah, but you know, it takes a long time to even realize that.
Yeah.
We could say this stuff and preach this,
Right.
but we all know, we probably have guys that we train with,
Yeah.
and there are people out there listening who are, no, they're going to go to the gym and they want to win.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't know about the learning part, like that. No, it's
The journey.
okay. Yeah, the journey and learn the move and the
Right.
technique and
Right.
position before submission. They're really going out there, you know.
Yeah.
They want to win, and that get you over time. Time is the only thing that really gets it out of you. It can be preached to you as much as you want, but
Yeah.
there's still again, I'm going on 5 years of training, and that's not a ton of time. You've been training how long? 10 plus years?
12 years. Or
Yeah,
so,
12 years.
Yeah.
But you know, I still have a hard time letting somebody submit me.
Right.
Like you know,
Right.
unless it's like one of the kids. I rolled with one of that little Alex the other day. You know, and you know, it was, I forget who else. There was another little boy that I rolled with. The one I mentioned before, who said that he would choke that little boy. I rolled with him, and you know, I'm letting him grab my, you know, take my arm. But if it's an adult, I still have a hard time. Like especially if we're rolling hard,
Yeah.
just giving them, you know, the submission. I don't do it.
We know.
Right, Maurice? I don't. But I know that's something that I have to work on. But I'm not there yet. I still there's some part of my ego back here that still doesn't let me do it. And I know that's not the right thing. But
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you know your goal is, you know, at the end of the day, and I know this may sound like, you know, preachy type of thing, but at the end of the day, it's all about how you yourself are progressing. And the only in many cases, the only objective way in which you feel that you can gauge that is by who you beat up, who you were able to tap out, who you were able to submit. You know, a week ago or a month ago or a year ago, I wasn't able to, you know, even roll, you know, at the same level with this person. Now we're going to town. You know, we're fighting, and he's not submitting me, or he's having a much harder time.
Right.
So that's a gauge that, you know, although it's not perfect, it's what most of us use.
Yeah.
But so there's, I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, I don't want to tap.
Yeah.
I don't want to tap. That's the drive. That's the drive
Yeah.
that you want to have to succeed and to make yourself better every time. The
I'll let them get close.
right? But in my opinion, I
think they
think
have it.
at the end of the day, what happens is that when or if you do get tapped, you know, by the person you thought wasn't going to make you tap, or by the person who you knew for a fact that was going to make you tap regardless of what you did. If you feel that you did better than you were doing before,
Yeah.
then that's the progress you want to have. And I know that it sounds silly to say, well, how do I measure that? But it's inside you. You have to figure it out for yourself inside you to know if you're progressing. And that's not always easy. Sometimes you're going to have crappy days. Sometimes you're going to have awesome days, and you can't really, you know, average that out. But it really has to be inside. It's not a question of, oh, well, you know, last week I couldn't, Milton, I couldn't submit him worth a crap any day. Now, I'm submitting him every 5 minutes or whatever. No, that doesn't mean anything, because he could have been having a really crappy day this week and an awesome week the week before, or vice versa, or with Mauricio, with anybody.
Just letting you do it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
You never know. You
Yeah.
never know. So the proof that you are tapping other people out more now than you did a week ago, great. You know, feel good about that, but don't use that as a gauge for how you're progressing. You need to feel for yourself how you yourself as a practitioner of the art are doing with other
You know,
people.
I'm gonna really feel like I'm progressing when I figure out that pass that you do where you stick the top of your head into my junk. The very, very top of your head. I don't know if you have a name for that, but
I learned that
that
in
shit
a
is-
strip joint. actually.
that is the worst pass. Great for you, bad for me that I've ever experienced in my life. I don't know if you have a name for it. I don't know if you know that you do it.
I don't know which one it is. We'll have to talk about
It's
it next
like
time we're rolling.
double unders with like your head right in the.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see what you're saying.
And it is like you have to let go. Yeah, I have to let you pass, or I have to create a space and usually have to let you pass.
It's a give and take situation.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that pass?
Yeah,
Have you-
he's more gentle with me.
I'll have him
because-
show it to you.
He has his own pass.
Yeah,
You know, like the one when he spins on top of you and you look. Yes.
Yeah.
The turning and he lands on your belly.
Yes, and you see your whole life just flashing.
Yeah. That was
awesome.
courtesy of YouTube.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I have to stick up for, not that we're bashing them, but to stick up for the white belts and recognize that there is such thing as not even the concept of progression, because you're such a blank slate,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And a lot of what you refer to, Milton, there are people, because I know there are people who they're in 6 months, 8 months, whatever, and they are still crazy. It's like they're still going crazy. There is that for sure.
I mean, like
right?
spazzy, like
Just spazzing out. You're just just bear wrestling you, right? But there is such thing as the person who's just starting, and this is especially for those who are just starting, where you're going up against a person who has lost memory of being empty in jiu-jitsu, and they have 4 or 5 moves they may want to think about or whatever, and you are sitting there and you're looking at them and you're saying, I don't even know where to grab your gi. I don't even, when you start moving towards me, short of me just laying on my back, but I don't want to be that person.
But that happens to me when I roll with Andres.
So I think
or
it's a
Junior
different thing. I
or
disagree.
Coach. I feel like that white belt.
No, I hear you.
I call it,
Yeah.
what do I call it? I call it taking my medicine.
Yeah.
I rolled hard with Mauricio,
Right.
but time to take my medicine. And I go over to Coach and he throws me around like a rag doll for 6 minutes.
But this is where I disagree on that. This is where I disagree. Because, I roll with a ton of people who just know so much more than me. And it's different when someone is, and they're dominating me. But I know, hey, you know what? I'm getting dominated now. But let me try kicking their knee out. Or let me try defending my neck in this situation because I'm not going to dominate them, or I'm not even going to get the upper hand. When they get my back, let me practice when they roll me over, getting on the right side to try to get. That's a different thing than a person who has no clue, even the first move, what to do. So then, what is that? The human instinct of, okay, I'm supposed to like wrestle you or something.
Yeah.
All right, here I go. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, now you're hurting me. Now I'm fighting back, and it's a natural human inclination.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because you guys know no names will be mentioned here, but we have a student.
He who should not be mentioned.
We have a student who started a couple, maybe about a month ago or so, and this guy, really cool guy, but he is either a bodybuilder or something like that. But this guy is massive. I mean, you touch him. Okay, you touch him and you think you're touching the wall or a brick wall or whatever. I mean, he is just.
I think we know who you're talking about.
You
It's
know.
the
Okay.
CrossFit white belt.
Yeah. So this guy, and I don't know if you guys have had bad experiences with him or good experiences. I don't know, but this guy. So actually, it was like his first day that was there. Sophia said, Andres, you need to help him because I can't help this guy. I mean, this guy's just massive. I can't,
Yeah.
So I was, so I was helping him learn a couple of moves and everything. But they were kind of asking him to learn things that I felt were even beyond him at the time. Like they were asking me to show him how to break the guard, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But he had no understanding of what being on his knees and to have balance on his knees. No concept. So I said, if you don't mind, let me spend a couple of minutes with him to explain to him a couple of other basic things that I don't think he quite understands. Things like you were talking about where to grab how to grab the key. The simplest things of being able of knowing not to grab inside, grab outside, how not to get your wrist broken because you put it in the wrong place, your thumbs, the whole idea of thumbs. So there were some things that he needed to be shown even before he could even learn the things about the guard.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
When you did speak to him, did you feel like, because I rolled with him as well, and I did have that conversation with him, and I kind of felt like he was like one of these guys that he's a very nice guy, but he seemed like he wanted to get right to the chokes,
Yeah.
to the submissions.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
He-
Did you get that feeling?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was much more
Which is-
eager to just pile
Yeah.
on and just drive through and
It's
everything.
like,
And
what do you mean the guard? Where's the
Right.
the back
He-
taking the choke?
Exactly,
It was kind
yeah.
of like
Yeah.
I got
He
that
kinda-
sense from him.
he kind of
Wow.
wanted to go with that. And what happened in that situation is that we finally got to the full guard where I had him on a full guard, and I was explaining to him how he needed to sort of maintain position and keep a posture and everything. He was he could have easily just, without even holding on to me, he could have just gotten up and I would still be holding on to him because he was that strong.
He's a strong guy.
So even because of that, I was having a hard time breaking his posture because he was just so strong.
Yeah, I'm just so
Getting
strong.
your legs around. is
Exactly.
where I was.
Like I mean, and
Tiptoes.
me and my
Janet
kind-
rolled with him.
yeah. So you know what I mean. So I think what you're saying is absolutely true. That there are people who are just starting, who really need to be careful about learning those very basic and yet fundamental
Yeah.
elements. Because later on, if they're not learning them, they're going to get hurt much more easily. The whole idea of locking your wrists and the thumbs and everything is fundamental.
So the day that I rolled with him, I think coaches were away. I just took it upon myself to roll, like it was open mat, so I took it upon myself and said, hey, I'll roll with him first. Once I realized that he had only been there once or twice, we went right into guard, and like I said before, let's work on these things. And in the initial sense was, no, I felt like he just wanted to roll.
Right.
Like he thought he was going to know what he was doing. And said, no, let's work on this. And then I kind of passed him along to other people and said the same thing. Hey, we just worked on the guard, showed him how to break the guard, side control, continue to work, on those things with him. So I felt like after I rolled with him, he was kind of like, oh, there's this other stuff here.
Yeah.
It's not
You
just
have to do all the
joint
things before you
manipulations
get
and
to
arms
this.
and
Yeah.
chokes, and he really, I think that he took to it. Again, I had
Yeah.
nothing bad to say about the guy. I know that Janet had a great role with him. We had she had an interesting. Do you want to share that story or no? No.
I don't know if you would want to hear that.
No. Okay.
But what I did like though is when I was rolling with him, I had gotten on him out, and he's like, "Man, I feel so bad. You're so small compared to me." I was like, "It's fine. It's like, oopa, bump me." And he's like, "Well, I just feel bad. You're gonna go through it." I'm like, "Do it." So he bumped. He's like, "Crap." So then he bumped. And he's like, "Oh, crap." And I was like, go have him waiting. And it took him a few turns, and his face got super beet red. He's like, and I was like, "All right, time out, freeze." I was like, and this is what it's about.
Yeah.
It's not about your size, beast
Right.
mode. I was like, okay, you're saying, oh, you're so light. Go sell with somebody your own size, and now try and
Right.
bump them off.
Yeah, muscle them
Yeah.
off.
If, you,
Yeah.
if you're having a hard time with me,
I felt like at the end of that
Yeah,
class,
I
he was appreciative of it.
yeah.
He had
better
a different
understanding.
Yeah, it was like, again, he came in, I felt like he just wanted, okay,
Yeah.
who's showing me the chokes?
Right.
Where am I
Right.
over
And
here?
when you don't
where's the
know,
And
choke
then by
about
the
it?
end, he was
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, wait a minute, yeah.
Yeah.
in all
this is-
fairness, he didn't
Oh, I
know.
get this now,
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and that's the thing is that you, like you just said, you as a completely new person, you come in thinking perhaps that, well, you know what, I want to learn how to do that thing where you put your arm around my neck and I go to sleep,
Well, and you watch videos,
and
you're
you
like,
watch
I wanna do
videos,
that.
right? You see John Wick doing it all the time, or you see this guy or whatever. I mean, if Keanu Reeves can do it, anybody can do it, right? I mean, but. Not to disrespect Mr. Keanu Reeves because he's an awesome actor and he does amazing stunts and everything. So, but the idea is that you work with, you start working from a baseline of understanding that's so minimal that you don't even know what you know. So you have different levels of understanding. Like you have unconscious ignorance, which means that you don't even know what you don't know, and then you learn a little bit. And you're like, oh, now I know how to choke everybody. So you're like, you think you know everything. So now your confidence shoots up, and then things like that happen, and your progression continues. But we, as sort of more experienced individuals at the gym, wherever we are, we want to make sure that those people continue coming to the gym because we want to continue growing the community, and also giving them the base elements that they're going to need so they don't hurt themselves, so they don't hurt other people. And I think that's one of our responsibilities as representatives of the art, to be able to show people and be humble about it, and give them the ability to learn on their own, but in a safe environment. So
So I think we're going to start to wrap things up. Let's. I think we want to let Paul and Justin know that they'll both get not only a jiu-jitsu. What you have to tell me what.
The product.
Oh no, we're not going to do that today. Sorry guys. So Paul and Justin are both going to get a podcast T-shirt,
Nice.
Cool.
podcast mug, and we're also going to get you some CBD from Fight Back CBD. They'll be our two winners this week. Nick and Steven, they're both going to get T-shirts and mugs as well. Sorry, no CBD for you today. But want to thank everybody for your input.
You're welcome.
I think it was an awesome little round table there.
Loved it.
Hosts, I've told you before, if you guys want to offer your handles, your Instagram handles or your online handles, anybody could reach out. If maybe they have a question they want to ask you directly, or tell you how cute you are, Raul. You know, you can.
My wife.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
Does
have
anybody
the
want to give their
voice
handle?
of a god.
You want-
This voice of a god.
you could do that. Do you want to share your
I am
handle?
at Janet_JJ Dummies.
I don't have.
Yeah. Bro.
I am at Raul Benton.
BENTON.
RAULBENTON.
Okay, very cool.
Like I said, I'll probably create one just for the podcast.
Okay. We'll throw it. We'll throw some of that. If anybody wants to start anything, this is day one. We can always throw it into the comments or the description on YouTube.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we'll let everybody know.
I'll read
For
that.
everybody else, you can get us at everywhere. You can get us at Jiu Jitsu Dummies. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all the same. Jiu Jitsu Dummies, all spelled out like the sign. Continue to submit your questions. We're going to use them every time we record.
Great questions.
Yeah, the one thing that I want to do is make sure that when you submit the questions, hey, tell us your rank. If you want to give your gym a shout out, or you want us to give a shout out to your gym, make sure you put that into the post comment or email it to us directly. You can send us emails at info@jujitsudummies.com.
And even if you have no rank, even if you haven't even gone to your first class, it doesn't matter. Ask away and let us know.
Absolutely. If it's you're just thinking about getting into jiu-jitsu and you want to ask us some questions that
maybe
you want
your
us to read
spouse.
on air, or you want us to ask us privately, we'll answer them either way. Again, a big thank you to Choke Responsibly for chokeresponsibly.com for the T-shirts, for the support. They've given us about $1,000 worth of product to give away. So we're just going to keep on giving stuff away till they tell us to stop, till they say enough.
There you go.
Okay. So it's going to be podcast tees and mugs. We'll do some contests for a 10% discount at Choke Responsibly. You can enter Dummies, all spelled out DUMMIES Pod 1, all spelled out again DUMMIES POD, the number 1. They always give free shipping to customers in the U.S. Outside of the U.S., if you win something, if you get awarded a T-shirt, and you're outside of the U.S., you do have to pay the shipping. Otherwise, in the U.S., if you want a T-shirt today, you just get it for free. Thank you again to Fight Back CBD. We'll continue to develop that relationship, and we'll tell you a little bit more about them as we get to know them a little bit better ourselves. They do give back to the jiu-jitsu community with gis and free classes for people in recovery. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. If you want to go online and check them out, it's fightbackcbd.com. And just in general, support your jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu businesses. It's a very niche and unique, industry.
Yeah.
If we're not supporting them, it's very hard to build. I know.
Yeah.
So we're so specific. It's not all martial arts, right? It's such a unique genre. So please support your businesses. So anybody have anything they want to add? We're good.
Just ask questions, and we'll
Yeah.
be happy to answer them as much as we can.
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thank you.
Us.
It was,
Very good, guys.
That was fun.
yeah, that was really fun.